Hi guys! So I'm back this week. It is the second week of school, and it's been a long couple weeks. But I have some fun things to share with you. I didn't share very much last week because it was all introductory classes and stuff, so I was able to. There's two main classes that I will be updating you guys on in these videos. One of them is thematic illustration, in which I will be telling the first chapter of my testimony, and then senior exhibit, which is my other two classes, or the second class, is going to be where I create the rest. And we got our assigned areas of our galleries today, so we get to start actually planning it out. And so I'm just going to give you a brief preview of what's coming so that I could show you like the plan of what I'm going to do as a whole, because I am realizing that, especially since the first chapter is going to be all over the place and you probably won't see it till the end, I'm going to show it now so that you know that it is the first chapter, even though I'm not going to tell you the full story. So I'm going to walk you through everything that I'm hoping to do, even though it's subject to change. So let's dig right into it. Alright, so first I have it here on my iPad because I thought screen sharing might be a little bit easier to explain things. So for chapter 1, the star in general here, that just means that I'm for sure going to do it. There are two in here that I'm not sure yet if I'm going to include, because I'm not sure if I want to do 5 pieces or 7, because that's a lot to complete in one semester. So this is the first one. I'm going to call it The Nightmare, or it's a working title, but basically it was a dream that I had continually when I was very young, and it kind of sparked a fear in me where I knew that there should be safety somewhere, and it was just that feeling in my heart where I was not saved, and I knew who God was. I was a missionary's kid and a pastor's kid, so I heard about God and Jesus all the time, but I had no personal relationship yet. I don't know if I want to give you any ages because I'm not sure how accurate they are, but I'm pretty sure I got saved before I was 6, maybe 7. So the nightmare started happening way younger than that because it was repetitive. I never saw it as I just saw it as a regular nightmare. I would come around to my mom's bed and she would calm me down, let me sleep with her for a little bit, and then we would move on. So I never really told anyone about this, and it wasn't until a lot later in my life that I realized the importance it had in my testimony. And so since this will be part of thematic illustration, what's going to happen, I am going to change some symbolism in it, so it's not going to be exact to the dream in how it looks, just because dreams are just very disoriented. So I did fill in some aspects just to make it more cohesive as a story, because I want to be able to tell it as a story, because I do think that it's a very important theme. And so what we are going to be doing is we're going to be doing 6 panels, or 6 finished panels, I should say. But because thematic illustration is all about telling a story, we are actually going to be doing 32 thumbnails, which would be like planned out future paintings. So I'm going to do these all as paintings, and I'm going to, out of the 32 thumbnails, I'm going to choose 6 in which I could tell the story around so that I can have them in my final show. However, I will also show a separate video for you guys of the 32 thumbnails, just because for the sake of story, I'm not I did finish the nightmare in a way that I thought was cohesive to like how I got saved or like the Christian story. But I am not including that in this because for this semester I am telling my testimony as close to how it happened as possible. But I mean, if all goes well, if you guys think it's really good and important for children to learn, it could be potentially become a children's book one day, which is why what we are learning in the class is how to create stuff like that. And so moving on, because I don't want to make this video too long. Long story short, this is where I want to capture the actual moment I became a Christian, or the moment I got saved. Because I was in church, and because I was a missionary in Mexico, my dad was preaching in Spanish, and my mom was translating into my ear right beside me. And that's when I heard about Christ, and I realized that that was the safety I sought. And so I went in because of I forget what verse. It was like, don't put yourself on display or on I need to look up the actual verse for when I show this, but it's I just remember being a little kid hearing the whole thing about praying in your closet and not like for the whole world to see. I took that literally. So I did. I got saved alone in my closet because to me it was a very personal thing. And funny story, I don't know how much longer or how much later my siblings or something was talking about being saved, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm saved. And my parents just looked at me and they're like, you are? When did this happen? And I was like, how could you not know? You know, like in my little brain, I was like, it's so obvious. It's my whole new life now. Like, I don't even need to explain it to you. So yeah, my parents don't actually know the exact date that I got saved because I just didn't tell them because in my head, I was like, oh, the whole world knows. Doesn't make sense, but yeah, that was my brain. And so this is another one that is for sure going to be in there. And this is one of the ones that I'm not sure is going to be in there, but I thought it had a very important theme and a big impact on my life. So I think it could be good, but it's not necessary. So this one is more about the process in which I had to learn and still am learning, but this was a more like section of my life where I really learned it, even though I'm still working through it. I think all girls do, which is why I think it would be a very important thing. And it's just the idea of like becoming beautiful in Christ's eyes instead of beautiful in the world's eyes and what that means. Because for a long time I thought, you know, like modest meant having to be ugly because so many girls like scantily clothes, like showing off your body was beautiful. And so the idea of how do I become beautiful on the inside and become beautiful for God and just learn to love myself, which is the part, you know, all girls are working through and I'm still working through, and it's crazy. So that's the one I'm not sure about, but I think it could be important. Next one is another guaranteed one, and that would be the I'm calling it the Roar from Within, because I was at a place called Summit Ministries in Colorado, and it was right before I went to college. And I remember always learning as Christ as like my comforter and something just very personal, and he was there to soothe me. You know, he was a father figure in the fact that he was like a protector is in like emotional ways more. But this was the moment where I learned we were doing a worship service, and I'm not going to go into exactly what happened, but basically they called for like some form of praise. I don't want to do specifics right now. And I remember, like, I was just so worried about people looking at me. I was so just worried about what people think. Fear was just consuming me about, like, worrying about other people. I was so self conscious. And it was just this moment where it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like audible, but still in my head. But it was the most real thing that I've ever felt, where I could just feel like a roar. And backstory, like, growing up with Christian parents, obviously, like, Narnia was definitely a thing in our house, so yeah, Latin was how I viewed God a lot. So hearing that, like, roar from an inn, it was just like I could feel the words, like, how dare you be scared. And it has always stuck with me. Because I just, like, it's still something I worry about because I'm just anxious about everything. And so that specific moment where it was just like, how dare you be scared? It was like, that's true. Like, God is the most powerful thing in the world. In all worlds, I guess. Spiritual and real. And the fact that He is, like, within you, like, it's like offensive to Him almost. Like, how dare you be scared? Like, I'm protecting you. Why would you ever need to be scared? And, that's why it's in the Bible all the time. Like, don't fear, because it's just, out of all the people in the world, we're the only people that should not have to fear. And so, yeah, we'll get into that more. I am already ranting way too much, so I'm moving on. So this is another one that is not guaranteed to be in, but I am going, if I have time, I hopefully have to add it because it's another one that I have had to go through, and so many people, especially my age, have gone through it or are continuing to go through it. And it's just, I'm calling it the trials. It was just, I'm still on the tail end of it, but I do think that I am recovering a lot. And it was just this anxiety and depression that really hit me bad during college, and just random stuff was happening all the time, and it was just very depressing, and I was anxious. And then I was angry because I was so depressed, because I was like, Christians should not be depressed. Christians should be the light of the world and happy all the time. So I just constantly felt like I was drowning. And I don't know. It's, like I said, I'm going to try not to go too far into these. I do think that this would be a very important one to share and to have in my show. But right now, I don't know if it's going to be, but I wanted to show it to you guys just in case. Next one would be, I want to do something relative and showing my marriage. Because dating my now husband, going through that whole process, he was the first person I'd ever dated. And so many things that were said about God and were in the Bible did not make sense to me. Because, like, all these things started when I finally got in a relationship. I just felt like I was understanding a new side of God. Like, obviously, not like understanding, because our feeble brains will never fully comprehend God until we get to heaven, but getting to understand, like, the absolute obsession and dedication of, like, I'm just human, so I don't have it nearly as bad as God, but, like, the simple thing of, like, since he was in Indiana and I was in Michigan, just that obsession of wanting to spend time with him really, when I was reflecting on it, really just broke me, because I was like, we are the bride of the church, or we are the bride of God, and it's just like, he has that romantic obsession with us. Like, he wants to be consistently spending time with us. And the reason it broke me was because I realized that spiritually, I had been ghosting him a lot. I, like, even when I did, my daily, like, devotionals, it was more of like a checklist thing. And a relationship, especially a romantic one, is not a checklist thing. It's, like I said, a relationship. And I realized I had not had that with God in the way I was supposed to. And so that really opened my eyes a lot. And as a final one, just because since I am showing my testimony, like, I'm 21, it's not over. So I do want to have a artwork or installation to show, like, it's just the preparation for the next artwork, as in, like, the next chapter is coming, it's not over. And so the reason I wanted to show you this all in timeline, I know this was a really long video, I'm trying to speed it up, I'm so sorry, but the reason I wanted to show you all these in timeline and give you a quick snapshot of them, story-wise, was because I'm for sure doing the ones of the stars, which means I'm gonna do them first, and especially the fact that the first one is probably not gonna be finished until right before the show. Therefore, as I get them out to you guys, they are gonna be out of order. And I don't want that to jar people and mess them up. I want to give you the timeline before I start putting them out, because I do think that it will help my commitment to be able to put them out as I finish them, just so that I have just deadlines, like personal deadlines, just because the school gave us a deadline of when the show is, and I'm a procrastinator, so I'm making personal deadlines within the semester, and that's when I'm going to be putting them out. But that means that everything's going to be all mixed up, and don't worry, by the end of it, by the time of my show, I will release to you guys a video of just all of them put together so we can just celebrate it being finished. But that is all I have for today. Sorry it was a lot. This is running 18 minutes. But yeah, I just wanted to keep you guys updated. I know I updated almost nothing last week. So I will try to keep these updates not too long. By next week, you should be able to start seeing more art in these updates. But for now, I kind of just wanted to give you where my mind's going, because the first stages of art is like a lot more planning than you think. So planning is the stage I'm in, so I don't have a ton of cool stuff to show yet. So I'll see you next week, hopefully with more art. So